Welcome back to MJL 3764, collecting Elvis on vinyl. Today I thought we'd take a look at another 70s regular album. Let's pick one, and let's pick from Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee. From Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, was released in 1976 and reached number 29 on the UK album chart. When first released in the UK, featured a matte cover, another stage shot of Elvis. I know a lot of people don't like this cover, but I must be honest, I think this is one of the better covers of the 70s. I actually like this one, probably because it features one of my favourite Elvis suits, the Indian feather suit with the original belt. The picture was taken 1975 and Elvis still looks pretty good. I know there was a little bit of airbrushing done, but it was only slight, and Elvis wasn't the only one to have this done on album covers. A lot of artists are made to look a little bit better on their album covers. So, but I like the light reflected there in the background. I think, yeah, it's a good cover. I like it. Of course, early copies did say recorded live on the front. As we all know, this is not the case. Why that was put on the front, I do not know. There's been lots of theories put forward that Elvis's studio albums weren't selling that well, so they thought they'd put recorded live on the front to shift a few more copies. I don't believe that. Another, it was recorded in the den or the jungle room, not a proper studio, therefore it was recorded live. No, that don't wash with me either. Or another one said, oh well, Elvis recorded his vocals live, which we know he did all the time anyway when he was recording in the studio. So why recorded live was put on the cover, I do not know. But early copies do say recorded live. Later copies, that would be omitted. Also on the back side of the early copies, the song Bitter They Are, Harder They Fall was listed as Bigger They Are, Harder They Fall. And that was changed later on. So they're the copies to look out for. The early ones were recorded live on the front, and Bigger They Are instead of Bitter They Are. Of course, on the label it does actually say Bitter They Are. This is the original from 1976. As you'll see, it just says side 2 on the top. There is a 77 release, which I'll show you in a minute, which will say stereo. So they're the ones to look out for. They're not that rare. People say they're rare. They're not. I've got 4 here, so they're not that rare to get hold of, but they're nice to own. It's a 10-track album. Mostly, well, all ballads really, apart from For the Heart. It's a bit of a hard listen, some people think. In fact, I remember reading in one of the Elvis monthlies when this album was first out, or a couple of years after it was released, that this guy said it was should be in line for the worst Elvis Presley album ever. But I totally disagree with that. It's not an easy listen if you're feeling down. I wouldn't put this on. Put Fun in Acapulco on, or Girls, Girls, Girls instead. But they are a pretty melancholy bunch of numbers. Very sad love songs. But I think they're very well sung, and I think it's a good album. First copy from 1976. And this is the 1977. With the stereo at the top. And of course, it is now Bitter They Are, Harder They Fall, and there's no recorded live. This is my original copy of the album, which I bought around September 1977. And as you can see, I stuck a sticker, being only 12 years old at the time, on the front. Looking at the tracks, well, they're all pretty well known tracks. really. Danny Boy, my dad had 50 versions of Danny Boy. The Last Farewell I knew from Roger Whittaker. Solitaire from Andy Williams. I'll Never Fall in Love Again, Tom Jones. Hurt, well that is obviously an old song, but just after Elvis recorded this and it was issued as a single, another group called the Manhattans done a version of Hurt at the end of '76 and had a number 4 UK chart placing with it. But I must be honest, looking back, I don't ever recall hearing Elvis's version of Hurt on the radio at all as a single, so maybe that was the reason why it wasn't such a big hit. But favourites for me on this album would be Bitter They Are, Harder They Fall and Love Coming Down. They're my 2 absolute standout tracks from this album. But I do like all of them. I like Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, Never Again, Hurt. I like his version of The Last Farewell, Solitaire, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, yeah. Yeah, I like all of the tracks on this album. This was issued a couple more times in the UK in the late 70s and early 80s on the Blue Elvis label, which are ones that I need to grab hold of. And again around 84, 85 it was issued on the new German Black. This is now in a glossy cover. If you can see, the writing is slightly different. It's got a white writing and in the background you've got a blue font there, which you don't have in the original. But they've changed that slightly. Backside's now got the barcode. And it's on the new German Black label. Next copy up is a Japanese copy, unfortunately without the obi. It does have the insert. And again they've used the double lettering. And they've also got recorded live on the front of the sleeve. Backside looks like that. Records on the orange. And the insert was a pretty plain affair. And the song lyrics. Next copy up is a USA pressing. I bought this one because it still had the hype sticker, which was nice to get. And of course nice to get a USA copy, still in the shrink but open. Again it's got recorded live on the front. And the double lettering. Backside looks like that. It's also nice to have the American copy because we never got this in England. See Elvis in concert for RCA record tours. That obviously wasn't printed on the English versions of the LP. And it's on the tan label. There was one single issued from this album, Hurt, Back Before the Heart. Before we look at that, let's have a quick look at From Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, on CD. The first CD version I have of this album, I bought in the early 90s, looking like this. There's a little booklet with it, a few pictures on the black label. It's also available, of course, on this box set. 20 original albums. And it's also been given the FTD treatment, of which I don't have at the moment. It's one that I let pass me by, but it is well documented, these sessions from February 1976. And if you bought the reissue of Moody Blue, with a different cover, you also got the Boulevard album tagged on at the end. as extra tracks. Unfortunately they let me be their offers here as well. So it isn't the actual Moody Blue album really. Different back picture as well. This is the FDD of Moody Blue. This does feature a few tracks from the Boulevard album on there. Also the FDD made in Memphis. This also features a couple of tracks from the Boulevard album, alternate tracks. And it's obviously well documented with this one, Way Down in the Jungle Room, which features the album plus bonus tracks. As I say, when this album first came out, people tended to criticise it quite heavily. They now seem to say it's a great album, especially the undubbed versions, but personally these are ballads. Most ballads have orchestra backing, and I have no problem with the original album with the orchestration on it. In fact, I'd rather listen to From Elvis Presley Boulevard with the orchestration on it than Elvis with the Royal Bloody Philharmonic Orchestra, which is funny that some people actually rushed out to buy that but rubbish this album. Strange. Let's look at the singles. Hurt was issued in 1976 as a single and reached number 37 in the UK singles chart. It was backed with For the Heart. Jukebox copy here as well. A little while after Elvis's passing, this release came out from Canada. This took 2 tracks from the Boulevard album, Danny Boy and The Last Farewell. A nice picture sleeve. Nicely done. And there's the label. Also a little bit later, 1984, RCA decided to release The Last Farewell as a single. And this reached number 48 in the UK singles chart. It's on the silver RCA label. And the B-side was It's Easy For You from the Moody Blue album. This was also issued as a 12-inch with a different cover and extra tracks. Also from Canada, in the same collector series, this single was issued with Solitaire, a track from the Boulevard album featured on the B-side, paired with Are You Sincere. These were both undubbed versions, issued to promote the Our Memories of Elvis album, which also featured 3 tracks from the Boulevard album, undubbed, and Volume 2, that featured 1 track from the Boulevard album, For the Heart. In 1985, the Always On My Mind album, this featured 3 tracks from the Boulevard album, and 84, this featured a track also from the Boulevard album. So, even though there was only 1 single originally issued from the Boulevard album, RCA were now starting to get a little bit of mileage out of the songs. There was also a single issued for this to promote this album. Let's have a quick look at this. 9 years after it had first been issued in the UK as a single, in 1975, 1984, saw Green Green Grass of Home released as a single again. And on the flip side of this was 2 tracks, Release Me from the Onstage album, and yet again Solitaire from the Boulevard album. And it came in a nice wraparound poster which looked like that. Nice illustration of Elvis. I like this one. I thought that was very well done. Nice wraparound poster. The other side looks like that. That's the From Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee album. Till the next time, just remember, what is music? Life's no waste.